Warning. This video contains adult humor, graphic dialogue, and certain material which some may find offensive. This video is a form of art intended for entertainment purposes only and not for children or easily offended viewers. The jokes and verbiage used in this performance do not represent the views or beliefs of the actor portraying them. Your discretion is highly advised.
It's a film that's still scaring the living fuck out of people more than 40 years later. Known not just for the box office titan it eventually became, but also for the absolute shit show that went down behind the scenes in order to get the goddamn thing written, filmed, edited, and eventually put on the big screen. Over the years, the film Jaws has been the subject of study through just about every medium possible. Whether it be books, television specials, or feature-length documentaries, there's very little the general public doesn't already know about the movie. So, at the risk of beating a very dead fucking horse, I'm gonna try and throw some fresh shit your way. I'm Jony with the Jony Horror Show, and here are 5 truly terrifying tidbits about Jaws.
So, for the longest time, this shit has bothered me, and now I'm putting my foot down because it's time to set the motherfucking record straight. All too often, when discussing the film, I hear people saying that the first time the shark is seen is when Chief Brody delivers his now iconic bigger boat line. But that shit just ain't fucking true. The first time we see the monster in all his glory is a far more terrifying and, quite simply put, nightmare-inducing sequence in which a man is literally devoured in the estuary scene. Showing up at approximately the 1 hour and 21 minute mark, the shark's silhouette is visible just underneath the water as it pulls the man beneath the surface. An image that could quite easily be the most unsettling in the film, if not for the one seconds later that shows the shark's entire head annihilating its hapless victim. This reveal of the shark seems to be forgotten due to the fact that Brody's infamous line was such a showstopper. But the estuary sequence is not only the shark's true big break, but it's infinitely more visually horrifying and, quite fucking frankly, the shit nightmares are made of. It is a well-known fact that while filming Jaws, the production went way over budget. But just how bad did the budget actually get? Original reports suggest that while the film started with a $3.5 million budget, it eventually ballooned to about $8.5 million. In the expanded edition of the Jaws log, writer Carl Gottlieb concludes that the final number was closer to about $12 million. On the onset, going from about $3.5 million to $12 million is pretty fucking ridiculous. However, if you compare the stats from Jaws to Spielberg's most recent film, the BFG, you'll see that Jaws' big budget problems weren't nearly as bad as you might think. Adjusted for inflation, the balloon Jaws budget of $12 million is equal to about $55 million by today's standards. The BFG, on the other hand, had a budget of $140 million. The fuck did they spend their money on? A Crayola creativity tub? The final domestic gross for the BFG was a less than stellar $55 million, which, ironically, if you remember, is what it cost to make Jaws after being adjusted for inflation. Jaws, however, went on to wrangle $260 million domestically all those years back, a figure that by today's standards is equal to more than $1 billion. Now here's a fun little tidbit about the nature of filmmaking. Not everything you film ends up on the big screen. Sometimes you shoot a scene and realize things aren't gelling and you have to go back and reshoot the scene altogether later, which is the case for the original scene in which Brody and Hooper find Ben Gardner's boat. Originally shot during the daytime with Brody, Hooper, and Meadows, the editor of the Amity newspaper, on a much smaller boat as they try and wrangle the wreckage of Ben Gardner's boat. Not only was the filming not gelling, sound equipment was destroyed, and actor Carl Gottlieb actually fell into the water during one take, but the scene was lacking in intensity and atmosphere. Spielberg reconciled to reshoot the scene at night and to include a sequence in which Hooper entered the murky ocean water and encountered the head of the now very much fucking dead Ben Gardner, creating what is now one of the most famous jump scares in cinema history. Another fun fact you probably didn't know, I sure as shit didn't, was that John Landis, yes, John Landis as in an American Werewolf in London John Landis, had a hand in the making speaking of Jaws. Landis had originally come to Martha's Vineyard to discuss another project with Steven Spielberg. During his stay on the island, while he was waiting for a time in which Spielberg could sit down and meet with him, Landis was called upon by the production manager to assist in the construction of the breakaway pier seen in the final film. And while Spielberg was eager to meet with Landis, he was just too goddamn busy with the current bullshit at hand that he had to all but tell Landis to fuck off. In a recently discovered letter, unearthed by the Jony Horror Show research team, Spielberg shares his thoughts. Dear John, thanks for taking the time to travel out to beautiful Martha's Vineyard. As you have no doubt discovered, most of the locals are assholes and tried to sabotage the film on countless occasions. Regrettably, I will be unable to discuss your upcoming film, as I am currently very much being fucked in the ass by a giant mechanical shark, rising budgeting costs, bad weather, a shitty shooting schedule, lack of sleep, and a crew that wants to murder me. Hope you enjoy your stay on the island. I'll make sure Dick gets you a t-shirt. Sincerely, Steven fucking out of his goddamn mind right about now, Spielberg.
So, without any further ado, we come to our final slot. And like you, I'm tired of talking about budgetary issues and all the drama that went down behind the scenes. So instead of talking about the day Roy Scheider had a mental breakdown on set, like I had originally planned, I'm going to pull a fast one. We're going to talk about the one and only thing any of us think about when we hear the word Jaws. Bitches getting eaten by a motherfucking shark.
Now, as we discussed earlier, the first time you get a good look at the shark in all his glory is in the estuary scene. Right here. It's fucking nightmare fuel, absolutely horrifying in every sense of the word, and it keeps me awake at night. But I digress. While the estuary scene is our first clear look at the shark, the very first glimpse we get of the monster is actually a good 40 minutes before, during the attack of the little boy. During the scene, we see the shark roll over on its side, raising its fins out of the water. But the scene originally featured the shark much more prominently. As shown in these photos, the shark was supposed to raise up out of the water and chomp down upon the unsuspecting Alex Kittner. They even had a rubber dummy of the kid on the raft because, real or not, a megaton mechanical monster with known behavioral issues is still pretty fucking dangerous. Now, no reason has ever been given why the scene was never featured in the film, but one can safely assume, and I quote, the shark was not working. And while, yes, it would have been too soon to show the shark that early in the film, I can't help but think how freaking cool it would have been to see that giant fish rise up out of the water and bite that little ginger right in fucking half.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of the Jony Horror Show. If you like what you saw, subscribe. Click the goddamn like button and share this shit with your friends. I'm Jony Maresca, and be sure to join us next week for the current hot topic, alternative shark facts. Examples include, but are not limited to, recent studies show that you're more likely to be attacked by 12 sharks in 1 year than being struck by one bolt of lightning in 12 years. And, as of 2017, at least 8 children have been attacked by great white sharks in recreational swimming pools. Hey, what are you doing? Don't turn that shit off! Don't turn that shit off! People have a right to know! People have a